Hello, I am going live today to make this hybrid peony that's part of my latest paper flower toolkit. I'm going to try to see if I can see what's going on Instagram. I think I'm on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Let me see if this will show up because I'd like to be able to see any comments or questions if you have them. But today I'm going to make this, and it comes with, right now it's coming with two different leaves. I've got the original wider leafed three petal, or not three petal, three leaf bit that has always come with my other peonies. But then I'm also including this slimmer leaf that I really like the way it looks when it's hanging down the side of a vase. Or I've even attached it, let's see if you can see that here, to the top of this. And I kind of like the way that is looking. So for a while, I don't know how long I'll do it, but I'm going to include both of these leaves with each of the peonies. And it also has three different kinds of wire because I like to have the Oasis bind wire that's flexible if I'm going to attach it to a panel or canvas, and then a stiffer wire. These said 18 gauge, but to me, they feel more like a 20 gauge wire. And then also a piece of some really fine, flexible 32 gauge wire. And what I have this for is to wire, because this is a much slimmer little bit. And you can wire this with the Oasis bind wire, but it shows on the sides more, and it just looks a little more refined with this really thin wire. So that's what I included that for. I'm checking to see if I'm not seeing anything on my laptop. So I'm just going to move ahead with shaping this flower. And I call it a hybrid peony because what I've done is I've combined my shrub rose, the sepals for it are from the shrub rose, and the petals, but I'm including the center strip that comes with my ball peony. You can do this exact same thing with the shrub rose. It just has a little different shape of the bits on the inside, and I wanted this to look more peony-like. So that's why I've included that in this kit. And what I start with, well, let me tell you how many of each layer I have. This is a 4-inch peony, and there are 2 layers of the bottom layer of petals. There's only 1 layer of the middle layer of petals, and then there are 3 layers of the top layer of petals. And I'm going to show you how I shape these. I guess I'll start with the sepal because I do shape that in the plastic quilling mold, and I use a metal ball tool. So I just put the edge of it up to the edge of the cup, and I'm using the largest cup in the quilling mold for this. And you just kind of push it down a little bit, use the ball tool. And I always start by kind of lightly going around and gently pushing it until I'm firmly pressing on the entire surface. And then you get a nice rounded shape. And I'll just do that real quick with each of these. Now with this one, I might have, and you can take it again into the next one if you want it even more round, but I don't think this really needs that. And another thing that I'm doing with this paper flower toolkit for a limited time is if you buy this kit now, you can actually request the SVG for these 2 leaves, and I will email you this if you want the SVG for those. So even if you already have the toolkit, you could get it as a gift for someone and get those SVGs for yourself if you would like. So next, so I've got my sepals shaped. I just added some roundness to each of them. I'll set that aside. I'm going to shape my center strip. and I'll use a shaping stick, and 2 of these are included in the kit. And all I do is just put the stick on top of just the ones that kind of stick up the highest, and I just bend it over. I bend over one this way and one the other way. I don't bend all of them. I just kind of grab the ones that are sticking up the highest, and this just adds some nice shape to the center. I can do this really quick because you don't have to be precise about this. Sometimes I grab 1, sometimes I grab 3. It doesn't matter. And then I'm going to use my quilling tool to roll this up. And then we will set that aside. So the quilling tool has a slot in the end. You just have to find that. Ooh, do I have my glue with me? I'll have to go probably grab my glue. Okay, so you put the slot in and have the strip to the end and just start rolling. You want to keep it taut, so you don't want to pull so hard that you break it, but you just want to keep a little bit of pressure on it, and you just roll the whole thing up. And it's okay if it's not completely flat on the bottom, because we will be able to fix that after we're done. You don't want to glue as you go. We just want to put glue at the very end. Let me see, where did I leave my glue? I should have had that at the table. I'll be right back. It's over on my desk. And I use art glitter glue, dries clear with the fine metal tip. I also recommend the Barely Art Precision Glue. This is safe to ship in freezing temperatures, and this is not safe to ship in freezing temperatures. And they both have fine tips for gluing. So we'll just add a little bit of glue there and roll it up. I press it just for a few seconds so I know it has a hold, and then I pop it off. Put the pin back in my glue, and I can just kind of put it on a flat surface and give it a nice tap, and that has flattened out the bottom of it. And so I'll just set that aside. And then we'll get on with shaping the petals. Let's see, I will start. So I've got these metal shaping cups, and I think, let me see, will I be using the medium size? Yeah, I'll start with the medium and then move it into the small. And again, with the metal ball tool. And you do want a shaping mat or something like this. You can have a mouse pad or some sort of a little foam pad. It really helps to hold it in place while you're doing the shaping. And again, you just take it up to the edge of the rim of the cup, pinch it there with your thumb and finger, and just, I start with gentle but firm pressure around the edges of it, and it just kind of helps it to take a round shape without getting a big, ugly crease in the middle. I mean, sometimes paper will just get a big crease, and that's okay. So I do it in that cup first, and then I want a little more roundness, so I will also shape it in that cup. And it just takes on that nice rounded shape of the petals. And it's pretty, after you've done a few, it's pretty fast and easy. You can see this one's wanting to crease there, and that's okay. The creases actually add nice texture and makes them look more realistic, because there's texture to them and not just smooth paper. So I do that with these 2 bottom layers, shape in the medium metal cup and then the small metal cup. And I have some already shaped, so I'll set that aside. Let me get those here. Here they are. So these are 2 of the bottom layers that are completely rounded all the way around. And now we'll go into the middle layer. Let's see, I think you could do this in the smallest cup, but I think I did him in the plastic one. Let's see if he fits. He's a little tight, but because he has these deep grooves, it's easier to get him to shape up in here. So I'll just do that real quick with each of these layers. Even the little guy, I call that my little lucky petal. I use that to know that I'm not putting the layers directly, you know, in the exact same spot on top of the previous petal, because when they're all kind of unique, if you end up with the exact same one right on top of each other, I don't think it looks as good. So that's all we do with that, is just the one shaping in the largest of the plastic mold. And now we're done rounding, and we will get onto the top layers. And you have to be a little careful, because what I'm going to do is basically ribbon curl these layers. And so you want to pinch the very base of it, because I'm going to be pulling. And if you don't have a good hold of that, there's a good chance you're going to rip one off. And that does happen sometimes. And when I do that, I just glue it back in place after I've shaped everything, and you can't tell at all. But it's just, I'd rather not rip my little petals off. And so you put the stick on the paper, have your finger behind it. That's what causes the tension. And you just pull enough to give it shape, but hopefully not enough to rip the petal off. And so we do the exact same thing with all three of these layers. And then we're going to add the messiness, the little twists and turns that go this way and that way. That's what makes it look fluffy and messy in the middle. And how I do that is with this shaping stick. And you can use paintbrush handles, knitting needles. There's lots of different things that you can use to shape your paper. And you can come up with your own method. What I do is I typically, on one side, I roll it back. And on the other side, I roll it forward. And I just go all the way around. All the petals are not exactly the same. So you kind of, and when there's one in the middle, I just give it another little twist in either direction. You just want it to look a little messy, but still pretty. And so I roll that back and roll this forward. And so you can see that I've just done little twists around each one. And you do the same thing to all three of your top layers. Set those aside. And I have that here. Okay, so I have the three twisted up top layers. And now it's going to be just a simple shaping with the metal ball tool on the mat. And then I will assemble it on the DIY paper flower tool. That is also included in the kit. So if you got the kit in order to make these flowers, the only other things you would need are the glue, and you need something to cut wire, some pliers. Let's see. I really like this 3-in-1 tool because it has a wire cutter here. It has the round nose pliers that are really nice for shaping wire as well as some flowers. And then it has the square plier part that I use, because in order to make this tool, you need to bend a piece of wire in a right angle. And I have separate tools, and I also have this multi-tool. And you'll find these tools in the jewelry department of a craft store where they do beading and jewelry. Very handy to have. But that's all you need, is the glue and the wire cutter and pliers to make these. All these tools and wires are included. Let's see. Let's start building this. And I think I'm going to, when I made this one, I just glued this leaf onto the outside. But I think I want to maybe glue it inside inside the sepals before I assemble the flower, and then it will just be there. Let's see, I can cut off a lot of this extra. I don't need much extra there. Let me do that first. Oh, also, let me show you how I like to shape This leaf does not have score lines. The wider leaf does have score lines. But what I do to shape these, it's really simple. I just lay the point of the wooden stick on it and just give a little pinch, and it just adds a nice, I don't know if it's going to pick it up, but it adds dimension and shadow, and it's super simple and fast. And I just like the way you can also add a little curl to the end of the leaves if you want. Just little tiny details make all the difference in making paper come alive when you're making your flowers. Okay, so I am going to glue this on here. I have not done this before, but I think it should work. Okay, so just where the paper ends, and I'm putting it in a little crack in between there. So I will now, let's see how I will do the difference between wiring the flower on a stiff wire versus the Oasis bind wire is if I'm going to put it on a stiff wire, I would glue the wire to the back of the center. But if I'm doing it like this, I will put some bind wire right in here before I build it. So let me grab a little piece of bind wire. I just fold up about 1/4 of an inch and push it up through the bottom. And add a little bit of glue to hold it in place. So I'll put a little glue here and just fold that wire on it. So now I've got 2 different wires coming out of there, but I think I'm going to like how it ends up. So we'll see. Okay, the 2 bottom layers don't need much shaping. I would maybe do a little bit just to kind of draw them up, but that's about all I'm going to do there. The middle layer, I'll add a little more shape to it, and you're just applying pressure in a circular motion with the shaping mat underneath, and they just come right up. Now for each of these, and I will put the pin in my glue while I wait because those tiny openings do dry up quickly. And it will be easier if I use a little smaller of a ball tool. And the way that I shape these top bits is I'm at the bottom of a petal, and I draw in apply pressure toward the center. So go to the bottom of a petal and draw in toward the center, and then apply some more circular motion in the middle. And that makes it, it brings it from this to this. And that's how we get our fluffy bits in the middle that just go right where you want them to go. So we do the same thing with each of these top layers. So apply pressure and draw toward the middle. And if you want it drawn in even more, you can just add a little scrunch on the bottom. And let's see. Oh, I see some questions. Where can I find the template? The template is in my shop. If you click on, you're on Facebook. If you go to my shop and then click through, because you can't list digital files on Facebook shop. So if you go on through to my shop.windblownideas.com, all of my SVGs are there. Let's see. Now I will glue all of these together, and I'll add basically a donut of glue on here and put my first layer of petals down. And one of the main things I use my shaping sticks for is to apply pressure where the glue is meeting another layer. And then we just add another donut of glue and put the next layer of petals on, making sure that they're offset, not directly on top of where the ones underneath of them are. And you can, it's going to get very rounded as we assemble it. You can see how round that is getting. And usually after I make them, I kind of pull them to open them up a little bit, just because I like a little more openness. But when you first make it, it gets very round. And if you were doing a bouquet, it would actually be nice to have some that are more open and some still more tightly rounded up. Okay, this is my middle layer. And then for these, I tend to just add the glue right around that hole on them. And when I get to the tighter ones, I tend to use the pointy parts to apply the pressure rather than the flat bottoms. And so I do look for that where that little petal is, and I find the little petal on this layer, and I just make sure I don't put this little petal right on top of that little petal. And that just keeps everything nice and random and just looking a little more natural. Okay. And one more layer of petals. And this glue does grab hold really fast. You have to determine with the glue that you use how quickly you can move along. And if I'm gluing the center onto a stiff wire, that's one of the few times that I use glue guns. I'm just not a big fan of hot glue, mainly because, well, I don't like the strings and I have trust issues with hot glue. So I really prefer to work with a white glue, or if I use hot glue, I'll often use both. Okay, so we have all of our petals shaped and attached together. So what we can do, I'll let that sit for just a minute. And this is a center that we have made, and I just want to pull some of these bits out a little bit, just so it has a little bit of fullness to it, just like that. And this can also be done after it is glued in place and you know, has dried. You can go back in and reshape that a little bit if you want to. You know, I really should have put this on a stiff wire because I wanted to see this. I liked it hanging off of, but this will look good too. So I do need a bit of wax paper because the glue sometimes will go through. And we've got fine tip tweezers, and these are also included in the kit. We'll add a good bit of glue to the bottom of that center and open this up a little bit to put it in place and just kind of give it a good little, enough of a press so that you know it's made good contact with the bottom. And then I would definitely set this aside to dry so that it's well set before I try to do anything else with it. And that is how I make this flower. I'm going to be coming back. I'm going to try to come back tomorrow and do the fluffy peony and show you. I have some specific ways that I shape that very middle layer so that you don't see any wire and it just all looks like full fluffy petals. And then after that, I will do the ball peony. And I'm also, I want to get them all on the stiff wire so that I can make a little bouquet. I think that's going to be cute. So again, if you order this kit, I'm not sure. It's for a limited time. I haven't decided how long I'm going to do it, but right now it comes with 3 of the wide leaves and 3 of the slim leaves. And also, if you want it, you can include a note that you would like the SVG for free, and I will send out the SVG. But thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.